Hi, I'm Doug, your tech support representative here at Atlantic British. And in this video we're going to touch base on one of the kits that we offer for the 03 to 05 full-size Range Rover, also referred to as the L322. This is part of our Maintenance and Repair Academy program. Now this is a maintenance kit that's usually recommended once every 105,000 miles. Remember too, your original brake hoses are a rubber-based component. They can dry up, they break down, they're worn both inside and outside. So this is something you want to consider. You definitely don't need a brake hose to fail while you're on the road. So what we offer is actually something better than the original design. Instead of a rubber-based hose, we have braided steel with a hard rubber casing. Comes with the hardware needed to attach to the original hold downs and hardware. Your front hoses and your rear hoses with mounting brackets, and then additional hardware that you'll need to install, and enough brake fluid to flush the system out instead of just topping it off. While you have the hoses out, this is a good opportunity to do another basic maintenance at the same time, which is a brake fluid flush. Makes a huge difference because brake fluid is designed to hold and maintain any water or dirt, contaminants that get into the system. So you want to flush that out just like you would do an oil change, transmission service, anything else. Fluid needs to be changed. It's not a forever fluid. So we offer the Castrol, which is a very high grade, very good fluid. So this is the kit, and you'll find it listed on a downloadable and printable sheet that we have on our website that shows the brake hose and fluid kit. Part number is ABP 221 SKA. You'll see again, recommended mileage is every 105,000 miles. So that's the kit, and now we're going to show you where all these hoses are located and just some basic instructions on how to change them over. So essentially we're going to start with the replacement of the front hose. Now, first thing I'm going to mention, before you even attempt to put the hoses on, make sure all the bleeders on all the calipers open, because you are going to want to do a complete bleed when you're done with the vehicle. When you get the hoses in place, you're going to have air in the system, you need to bleed the whole thing out. Plus the fact is you will be getting enough brake fluid to do a complete brake flush, and having new fluid in the system makes a world of difference as far as how the pedal feels. It'll definitely give you better braking. Now, the way the front hoses are installed on this, you have a flare nut on your brake line going into the hose here. The retainer clip underneath is held in place by that nut. So once you take the nut out, the clip will come with it, and then you can remove the hose out of this mounting bracket. Then you have your rubber mount here, which is on your, and you'll see this is one of our struts on here, but even on the original equipment there'll be a bracket here, and then you have a rubber mount, and it just basically pushes up and out. And it'll be a little tight, but you can get it out with your fingers. It's slotted in the back so that you can slip the hose out. So once you have this end disconnected loose and the rubber mount out of place, it's just a matter of put a wrench on the bottom part of the connection at the caliper, break it loose, and then you can just simply spin the hose out. The new hose, as you see, is much smaller in diameter, but don't worry about that because this is simply a rubber hose. This is braided steel with an insulated liner. You're going to thread this lower end back into the caliper, snug it, don't have to be super tight, just snug. Your boot will slide up and down to where you can line it up properly with the bracket, squeeze and push in place. You're going to take the upper end, slide it down into the bracket, make sure you put your retainer clip over the nut first, and then slide the nut up to thread into the hose and snug that up. And I'm going to recommend any of these type nuts that you use on brake lines, you're going to want to use a flare nut wrench, which is more of a 5-sided open end as opposed to just a regular open end. Regular open end is very prone to rounding those nuts off, which will make this job a lot harder. Use a flare nut wrench. So that's pretty much it for the front. We'll take it around back. We'll show you some of the tips on that as well. Okay, so now we're at the left rear. First thing I want to mention is when you pull the two rear hoses out, check the brackets because they'll be stamped L and R. There is a difference in the way the brackets are mounted on the hose, which will affect the way the hose mounts on the vehicle. So we've got the left side hose, and essentially the process is going to be the same as we did with the fronts. Now in this case you've got two mounting brackets here, which again, shoot a little penetrating oil on it, let it sit for about 10-15 minutes. You're going to take out this and that bolt. These are the two retainer brackets. The original equipment design hose has basically a rubber hose into a metal line, back to a rubber hose around the shock, and then hooks up to the main line right here at this bracket. This also has the retainer clip on the back side that's held in place with the flare nut from the brake line. So you're not going to be able to remove this hose until you get the flare nut out, and then the clip will just simply come off the end of that line, and this hose can be removed out of that bracket. The replacement hose is going to sit basically the same way. You have your new nut with your two new copper washers, which is where this attaches down below to the caliper. This is just a banjo fitting that you're going to take the nut off, and then your hoses will be easily disconnected right off the back of the caliper. Wipe the surface down, make sure there's no dirt, screw the new bolt in place, make sure both washers are on, attach that. Just going to sit just like so. You'll see then the bracket will line up. You reinstall that bolt into that bracket. You have the back bracket. We'll do the same thing and line that up and install that. Take the remaining part of the hose and come around the shock into the mounting bracket towards the front, and then you just simply line up and install the flare nut back into there, making sure you put the clip on first. So the clip should be between the nut and the back side of the bracket. Lock that all down, do your brake bleed all the way around, and you should be good to go. And like I said, you actually will have installed hoses that will be a little better grading than what originally came on the vehicle. These will last quite a while. So when you're ready to change the brake hoses over on your L322 and do a brake flush, just call any of our knowledgeable salesmen at 1-800-533-2210. And thanks for watching.